Welcome back into the College Football Every Game on the Board podcast, part number 4, week number 12, with our closer making his Every Game on the Board debut, Pete Loshak, the legend in the business. Pete, welcome on in, buddy. Happy to see you.
Oh, it's great to be here, Drew Martin. You might not realize this, but I'm actually wearing one of my nicer shirts for this one, so you should feel a little bit flattered. This is, I know it doesn't look like I dressed up for this, but I kind of did. In my mind, my effort was, I'm going to dress up for Drew a little bit. So, respect, Drew Martin. Great to be doing videos with you again, pal.
Absolutely. It's been too long, man. We had some good times down in Central America, and now being back with you on camera, I couldn't be happier here, buddy. And I'll tell you this, guys, we got 12-ish games here and some big ones on the bottom of the card. So if you're new to Every Game on the Board, it's in the name, guys. We go through every single game on the college football card each and every week. We go down in rotation order using the odd screen. So we're going 407, 408, Baylor, TCU, down to the end of the card, the degenerate special, San Diego State, San Jose State. And we'll try to get a best bet out of Pete here, guys. We got parts 1 through 3 already loaded on YouTube, wherever you're downloading your podcast at, Every Game on the Board. And we're going live on Twitter as well. So, Pete, let's get into it, man. 407, 408, 3:30 Eastern, Baylor, TCU. Big 12 matchup here. 59 being the total, minus 13. That's the Horned Frogs at home. You liking anything in Fort Worth, Pete?
Well, TCU is an interesting team this year. I did from week one. I said that I thought they were going to be overvalued. Said that I have been covering, college football every week with Big Man on campus. And week one, I said I thought TCU was going to be overvalued. So I had a pretty good read on him this year, and I did have him against Texas last week just because of the spot. So this week is a little bit tough. Of course, Baylor has been terrible. ATS overall on the year. There's some money that I'm seeing coming in that I respect on the under, which is kind of interesting, and the spread has moved up. So I think I'm probably going to pass on this one. My initial thought was maybe a shot with Baylor, though, even though they've been so bad against the spread, and TCU was pretty decent against the Texas. But I was expecting that. It was kind of the spot for TCU, so I haven't bet this one yet. As of right now, though, I'm thinking about taking a shot with the under and thinking about taking a shot with Baylor for those reasons.
Yeah, all right, good start. Maybe lower scoring. Maybe the dog barking with the Bears there, catching near.
Yeah, or maybe a TCU team. Maybe combine it in a TCU team total under. Something like 30, 35 or 36.
Okay, all correlated there, guys. We'll move down 409, 410, 4:30 Eastern prime time in Columbia, Missouri here, Pete. Florida at Missouri. Yeah. We're seeing Mizzou as low as minus 11, as high as minus 12-point home favorites, 57.5 being the total. The Gators, they need another win to get to bowl season. Missouri, they've been playing good football here. You liking anything in the SEC matchup?
Yeah. This one I'm not, obviously Missouri would be the play, and anything under 2 touchdowns, one would think, and you kind of expect the unexpected you definitely expect the unexpected in the NFL. At this point in the college football season, I tend to expect the expected a lot more than in a lot of other sports. So I can understand why people might want to be contrarian and take a shot with Florida maybe, but 3 straight tough games for Florida, all ATS losses. Now they're on the road against a legitimate team with some real life to them. And then they got Florida State next week. And then Missouri, they pounded Tennessee, of course, last week. They've been awesome ATS, covering, and their recent covers have been with bigger margins. And Florida, 6 straight overs, which means that they can't really stop anyone. So maybe a shot with the Missouri team total over at 35, but at anything under a touchdown, I'm definitely leaning Missouri. I can understand why people might want to be contrarian and take Florida for no good reason other than to be contrarian. And sometimes that is the right thing to do. There is some merit to that. But in this situation, I think that would probably in the end prove to be someone just overthinking themselves and trying to get too cute. So I'm going to wait a little bit to see see if any more information comes out and where the lines move. it is weird, I will tell you right now, that the total's gone down from 59 to 57, right? I mean, Florida, 6 straight overs. They can't stop anyone. Missouri puts up a lot of points. So that surprised me. I was leaning over when the line first came out, and now that it's down to 57, that could be a head fake, but, it's a surprising move. As of right now, leaning Missouri and the Missouri team total over for sure.
Like it, Pete. Good start here. We'll go from Columbia, Missouri, staying in the SEC, at least in terms of home venues. Heading to Auburn, Alabama. We get New Mexico State at Auburn, minus 24 in the hook here. That is the Tigers as the home favorite. 48.5 being the total in Jordan-Hare. You liking anything on the Plains, Pete?
Yeah, this is a really weird one because, of course, New Mexico State, they won last week at Western Kentucky as a dog. They've been killing it ATS, right? I don't have to tell you that, Drew Martin. 7-0-1 ATS in their last 8. Then Auburn, might have turned a corner a little bit offensively and crushed Arkansas last week. 3 big wins for them. But the thing is that, New Mexico State very reliant on that quarterback, and he's definitely banged up. So before the lines came out, I was thinking, man, New Mexico State's been absolutely awesome ATS, but this might be a spot to time a bet against them and to take Auburn. But then when it came out at 22, I was like, I don't really know what to think right now. I don't think it's a good spot for New Mexico State. It's a terrible spot for them actually, but 24 is a friggin' huge amount of points. And I guess. And Auburn has Alabama next week, of course, which doesn't, they've had kind of a tough year. So just because, they might want to, get even more confidence going into Alabama and get another blowout win here. So even at 24.5, I'd be leaning Auburn. I'm probably going to pass. The chance I might bet it. It's a bad spot for New Mexico State, but they have been so great ATS this year, and Auburn's not that reliable as a huge favorite, especially coming off a big SEC win. So as of right now, I'm going to and I was leaning under as well, but the total has gotten a bet up, but that's just a little bit. A half point, but that's the play that I was really thinking about. And that's the play. If I'm on anything, it's going to be the under 48.5. We'll see if it does get bet up.
All right, under the 48.5. And yeah, that is actually the high water mark here, guys. We got some shops going at 47.5. Might as well put that extra point in your pocket because sponsor of the show is hanging the high water mark of 48.5. Okay. And that's betonline.ag, Pete. BetOnline.
Yeah, and Pinnacle
starts here. Okay.
And I checked Pinnacle. So, if the sharp books right now are leaning to the over and the square ones are towards the under, that makes me very nervous. But, who knows? We'll see. Everything could be a completely different scenario in 24 hours. So as of right now, I'm leaning under. Haven't bet it yet, though.
And Pete, actually, the last 2 games, you've talked about that, like the line moving and even in the Missouri game not being high enough. Do you pay a lot of attention to that, or are you more of, hey, these 2 teams, you've been kind of studying but behind the scenes, and you don't care what the market's doing? How do you fall on that?
Try not to care what the market's doing, but it's just impossible. I'm so desperately, passionately interested in I shouldn't care. I try not to, It's like a kid in high school being like, I don't care what the cool kids think, but you do. There's just no way not to, I do. I can't help it.
Yeah.
I can't help it. I shouldn't, but I do. And maybe someday I won't. Right now, I still do. Drew.
Pete Loshak, ladies and gentlemen. We got UCF and Texas Tech up next. This is a good one, Pete. 5 o'clock here. We get Central Florida heading on the road to West Texas. I'm always a little bit worried about that. Plus, they haven't had the greatest entrance into the Big 12 conference, although playing better. 59.5 being the total. -2 in the hook. That's the Red Raiders hosting UCF, the Golden Knights in Lubbock. You liking anything in this one?
Although, just to go back to what you were saying, you remember that Purdue game where they opened up as a favorite and then closed as a dog? I had Purdue. I got the horrible number. I got the opening line. I was like, all right, I'm not going to hedge out. I'll just eat the loss. They won by double digits. No problem there. So sometimes it's a good thing to stand your ground against market moves. All right, UCF, Texas Tech. Yeah, actually, this might be one that where I might have to do that because I was thinking that These lines have barely moved, right? Texas Tech -3 and about 60. There's small, juice movements for these lines, but I was thinking that Texas Tech is a good play here. I was all over UCF last week against Oklahoma State, and they're a team that is, certainly a quality team at times this year, but they're also a vulnerable team. And Texas Tech is not world beaters, but that was a nice win against Kansas. And my note here is also got to be really like an over here, and I was expecting it to be bet up by now, and it hasn't. It's actually again, we'll see what it is tomorrow, but I was expecting the total to be bet up. The fact that it hasn't is a little bit concerning. But Texas Tech has that quarterback had a shoulder injury, and now he's playing great. And I don't quite understand that there's money coming in on the under. It could also be head fakes again, but I'm liking Texas Tech. I haven't bet it yet, but I'm almost certainly going to be on it. I don't know when I'll pull the trigger, but I'm definitely going to be on Texas Tech in this one.
Okay.
And if it loses, I'll be fine with it. If it loses, I'll be fine with it.
I mean, at this point in the season, we kind of have to. I was looking at the weather. It doesn't – well, I'll try to pull it up here, guys, because Lubbock, Texas, and actually, getting into the month of November, checking the weather, I'm seeing 63 10-mile-an-hour winds. So I don't know that it's weather-related why we're not getting over money. But, yeah.
And also also Texas Tech team total over as well.
Okay. We got Sam Houston State and Western Kentucky up next, 3:30 Eastern here, Pete. -11 in the hook at Bet Online. Looks like as high as -13 and pretty much flat across the board here. That's Western Kentucky as the home favorite, 53.5 being the total. Bearcats and Hilltoppers up next, Pete.
Yeah, this one is – I don't know what to make of this one. Obviously, Sam Houston, a huge win last week as a road dog. They had been terrible ATS before that. To start the year, they were, one of these teams that, couldn't put up anything. They were a big dog. And I think at one point they had more ATS wins than total points on the year after like week 2 or something like that. They've clearly turned a little bit of a corner, giving them this many points. I mean, if you gave me a free play right now, if Bet Online jumped in right now and said, we're going to give you a free play right here, right now, what are you going to throw it on? I would throw it on Sam Houston if I had a free play right now. The total has gotten bet up, which is interesting, right? 52, now up to 53.5 or so. That's the last line I saw at Penny. And the line has gone in Western Kentucky's favor a little bit. So I'd take if I had a free play right now, I'd take Sam Houston +13. As of right now, I'm planning on passing on this one. But if I get information or see something market-wise that makes me want to make a bet, then I'll make it. But as of right now, planning to pass. Free play would be on Sam Houston.
417, 418, going down in rotation order here, guys. Every game on the board podcast with our closer for Week 12. This is part number 4 of a 4-part series. Pete Loshak. We get Wake Forest and Notre Dame up next. We get the Irish -24 in the hook as the home favorite, 46.5 being the total. So a lower total here, Pete, with a big number. You like it anything Wake and Notre Dame?
Yeah, I like the under when it came out. Notre Dame, of course, is off the bye and the loss at Clemson, but they have a whole bunch of injuries, right? And so their defense should be and Wake Forest, as we know, they have kind of a tricky offense, but an offense that can be held down by teams that are good defensively and have time to plan, right? They got blown out last week by NC State. I had Wake Forest last week. That was one of my bets. That was a big loser. So I had Wake Forest last week, and of course they lost. And, Notre Dame has a bunch of injuries right now, and I'm sure they want to come in here and play well, but, their national championship hopes are gone. So with the extra week to prepare and a strong, defense, I think Notre Dame will come in and have a good game defensively. So I wanted to take a shot with Notre Dame, but when the line came out and I saw 25, it was just a little bit too much. I'm just not sure. I mean, it could easily be like 24-3 or something like that. Notre Dame does have injuries on the offensive line, which is not great. I still think they'll probably put up points. Free play, I would probably throw it on Notre Dame, but I bet the under. I still like it at 46.5 and a small lean to the Wake Forest team total under as well.
All right, 46.5, the Sam Hartman Bowl there with Wake and Notre Dame. We'll move down 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 local time. UNLV and Air Force here, Pete. Air Force off of that head-scratching loss. What, is that 2 in a row now off of that hot start? -3-point home favorites, 47 being the total. Two good teams here in the Mountain West, Pete. Do you like anything UNLV and Air Force?
No, not really. I've had a great read on UNLV this year. That's another one I said in week one. I was like, this is a team that has good character. I wasn't expecting them to cover 9 out of 10, but they were definitely a team that I was looking to bet on. Or it was a bet on or pass team for me from week one. And Air Force, I've mostly stayed off. The good and the bad, the totals, the overs, the unders, even the Army game I stayed off of. I don't really have a great read on Air Force this year. I would bet on them if someone who did have a good read on them told me something that they liked, and that might happen by kickoff. But as of right now, I don't. I'm mostly staying off of Air Force games, and UNLV I do have a very good read on, except for these kinds of games when they're going in, against Air Force and an Air Force team that was so great to start the year and so terrible recently. So, I know their quarterback Larrier was injured in the Hawaii game, so that's not good. They've got some guys who are banged up. They've got some receivers who are banged up. So Air Force is injured a little bit, and it's gone down now to 3. I know that. So I guess free play, I would take UNLV. But I have no real personal opinions on this one, and probably going to be a pass.
Yeah, watch Larrier because he's a pretty good athlete there at the quarterback position for Air Force. Next one up here, Pete, 421, 422, 3 o'clock Eastern, Texas State and Arkansas State. -3 in the hook. That's what we're seeing. The Bobcats as the road favorite, 59.5 being the total. You like anything TSU and ASU here, Pete?
Yeah, I've had a pretty good read on Arkansas State. Texas State has burned me this year a few times, both betting on them and against them. They haven't been, they're great ATS to start the year. Recently, they've been a bad bet. And Arkansas State, of course, has turned it around recently, which, if you follow their program, was not a huge surprise. They changed things up. 3 straight nice ATS wins now. They've been covering for a while now. And, it's not a huge play, but I took Arkansas State +3.5, and Texas State again. I'm a little bit stink bit with them this year. When I bet on them, they lose. When I bet against them, they win. So could easily see a blowout win by Texas State, or just another friggin' 6-point win by Texas State, and I eat another loss ATS with a game where they're involved in. But took a small shot with Arkansas State at 3.5.
All right, we got Marshall in South Alabama up next, 5 o'clock Eastern here. We are seeing South Alabama, the Jaguars, -10 in the hook as the home favorite, 48 being the total. We get the Thundering Herd here playing USA. You liking anything in Mobile, Alabama?
Yeah, I did. When the line opened at 8 or so, my note was that South Alabama was probably the play, but I didn't pull the trigger on it. Now, of course, it's 10.5. Marshall, of course, 3 straight games where they just had nothing offensively. And then last week, they finally found their offense. They had a high-scoring win. And it was because there was a quarterback change, right? Pennington was in. He did great. The guy, Fancher, who was playing before him, was not doing well. What to expect here? I think it's a good spot for South Alabama. The total's also gotten bet down, which is interesting. So that, unless these are head fakes, it implies that the market is someone with influence is expecting Marshall to go back to having an anemic offense. I would, if I had to make a bet now, I would take South Alabama, and I do the cowardly thing and buy down to -10, not because I have mathematical reasons for doing so, just weak emotional reasons for wanting to do that. Marshall, very nice win last week. And South Alabama has been a weird team. Of course, they had those 2 huge wins where they put up the 55 in a row. And then, and then they slumped a little bit after that. ATS, they beat Arkansas State, but lost ATS in their last game. So I definitely would be leaning South Alabama here, but I missed the move. And that's a little bit annoying, but yeah.
Yeah, when you miss it, whether to jump on a bad number or I guess, just wishing you could still get that -8 is not really worth it. But yeah,
I mean, what I do in a situation like this is I just go and I buy -8, -170, and I just say, fuck it. I'm not going to tell anyone, No one's going to know that I did that, even though it's an incredibly stupid thing mathematically to do. But I probably won't do that. I would take South Alabama, though, at the current line.
All right, Pete, we got 3 games left here, guys, and the Degenerate Special, maybe a best bet here from Pete Loshak coming up. But I do want to give a quick shout out to the sponsors of the show, betonline.ag. The game starts here. If you're looking for a sports book, go check out betonline.ag. And Viva Tequila Seltzer, vivatequilaseltzer.com. refreshing and drinkable hard seltzer, 88 calories, 0 carbs, 0 sugar, 4.5% ABV. Viva, the perfect drink for your pre or post game celebrations, as it was created with the active lifestyle in mind. If you're in the state of Florida, it's at Total Wine, and it's all over the Northeast, guys. Boston, New York. Viva Tequila Seltzer.com. We got 3 games left here, Pete. Boise State and Utah State up next, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock local time, -3 in the hook. That's the Broncos as the road favorite, 64.5 being the total in Logan, Utah here, Pete.
Yeah, this is a very interesting game. I don't want to take up too much time, but the coach was fired last week, right? And the star wide receiver left the friggin' team. And then when he heard that the coach was fired, he was like, now maybe I'll come back. And now they're a road favorite at Utah State. So it's a really weird scene. A lot of times you want to bet on a team, after the coach has been fired. In this case, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that this is a good case, a good situation to do that. And also there's some injuries for Boise State as well. Quarterback's banged up. And I guess I would be leaning Utah State here, actually. I kind of want to look into it a little bit more, but it's a weird situation for Boise. I might bet on them in their next game. Of course, Boise, they beat down New Mexico in their last game, but they had been bad ATS before that. And then after the big win against New Mexico is when the coach was fired. So weird stuff going on for Boise. They have injury issues at quarterback. Coach was fired. Star wide receiver is going to come back, and the guys who replaced that wide receiver played really well. They had big games when he was gone. So it's a weird situation. My lean as of right now, it's a fascinating situation. My lean is to actually take Utah State and then maybe take Boise next week when they're at home, I believe, unless I'm misremembering. But, yeah, interesting situation. It is down to 3.5 now. It opened around 4 now. At Penny, it's down to 3.5. So, Utah State, a decent team they've been covering. I'm leaning Utah State, despite the fact that Boise just fired their coach.
And is that an angle you like to track? You said, when they fire the coach, look to bet on them. Is that something you've had success with?
Sure. Oh, sure. And it's not, like anything, it's not necessarily something that you automatically want to do. But yeah, definitely I would be thinking that way. But in college football, it is a little different. And this spot, depending on how this game goes, I might be all over Boise State next week. This week, though, I don't know. It's tough. On the road, Utah State, a quality team. They're a favorite, a road favorite, and the injury stuff. So I'm actually leaning Utah State pretty hard.
From the Mountain West to the Big Ten here, Nebraska and Wisconsin Badgers, -5.5. Home favorites here, 37 being the total. Nebraska at Wisconsin. What are we liking at Camp Randall, Pete?
Well, I took Wisconsin on this one. I took them -5 on the early line. Now it's 5.5. Not a huge move, but a little bit. Took them first half as well. Wisconsin lost outright to Northwestern last week. That was an embarrassing loss, right? 2 straight bad ATS losses now from Wisconsin, and they've had some issues. Their quarterback was banged up, but now he's back. He had a good game last week. So Tanner Mordecai, the quarterback from Wisconsin, was banged up. Now he's back. And Nebraska, they're just kind of a team that, I've had a pretty good read on them as well. I kind of like to bet on them at home, kind of like to fade them on the road. I remember when they went into Colorado earlier in the year, and everyone was like, oh, my God, Colorado's so overhyped. We want to fade them. And that was the right way to look at it. But not when Nebraska's coming in, and then you're giving them only 3 points. Nebraska's not a really good team to bet on the road. So, they're coming. They haven't been a good team in general to bet on. I think they've lost 5 out of their last 7 ATS. Wisconsin's coming off of a tough loss where they kind of, embarrass themselves a little bit. And Nebraska also has some quarterback issues. They got 3 quarterbacks. 2 of them are banged up. But I think all 3 of them might continue to play, so it's not clear what's going to happen at quarterback. I like Wisconsin here. I wouldn't mind taking them on the money line if you want to be, just calm your nerves a little bit. But I took them -5. I took them first half as well.
All right, -5.5. Yeah, guys, that is available right now. Bet online for Wisconsin.
What was that? All right, you think it was a stupid bet? Be honest.
To tell you the truth, Pete, I haven't been dabbling too much in the Big Ten. It's like the one conference.
All right. A little bit paranoid, though. You know what I mean?
No,
I got to watch. You tell me if you personally have. What'd you say?
I got to watch my all rights because I get what you're saying.
Okay.
Like sometimes,
No, Yeah, I'm a little bit paranoid, but yeah, go ahead. All right. Yeah, I like Wisconsin here.
And Pete, right when I said that, we had Donald chiming in saying, Pete, that's you, my man. So that's what I was reading when I said all right. I guess my mind was all over.
Okay. Now it makes sense. Sense. All right. It was an all right. I'm trying to read while doing this interview, not to. Oh, got it. Got it, pal. Got it, pal.
And Pete, that actually reminds me, guys, we got one game left, the Degenerate Special, but you're the best. Like Jimmy was really good at it, like the best at doing a show. I remember it at SBR, and then you would be reading the chat box and then talking live. That's very difficult to do, and you were great at it, man.
It is. It is. It's a lot of sleight of hand. It's like a magician thing. You gotta, yeah, you gotta, yeah. It's not easy. It takes a little practice for sure.
Those were good times. I remember the
yeah.
low hanging fruit and the birthday pick.
What a different world it was 10 years, whatever the hell that was. Things are very different now. Things are so different. It's okay. We knew they would change. Nothing lasts forever, baby.
Oh, it's all right, Pete. We got San Diego State and San Jose State in the Degenerate Special, 10:30 Eastern here. 48 being the total. We're seeing Bet Online hanging minus 14 in the hook. That's the Spartans as the home favorite. Pete, like to say, last game on the card, a get back special, Degenerate Special. You don't have to bet it, but if somebody wants to bet it, what side would you point them to?
Man, this is a tough one because San Diego State is, they lost their last game. They covered, though. They're one of these teams that is like playing very close usually to their spreads. The market has a good read on them. Very low volatility team, which you can use when you're doing your buying and selling points. But relatively low volatility team, San Diego State, and then the other side you have San Jose State, who've obviously been great. Pounded Fresno last week, similar to Missouri and a few other teams. They've been covering, and then the last four covers, the margins of the covers have been big, so they're outperforming their market valuations more and more as the weeks go on. So it's a tough team to fade, but San Diego State is just kind of a scrappy team that plays close to their spreads. Could easily see like a San Jose State 17-point win. And they're also, of course, a very low-scoring team. Usually, I was thinking that maybe the over would be the play here. Glad I didn't touch it because first line I saw was like 51, and then I checked an hour ago it was down to 49.5. You're quoting even lower numbers, which is understandable. San Diego State, though, sometimes on the road, they had that super high scoring game against Hawaii, and that's my sense here. So I was leaning over, didn't bet it. And as far as the spread is concerned, I don't know. It's just tough here. Can't bet on San Jose State giving this many points to a team that hangs around like San Diego State does. But I need a lot more to bet against San Jose State right now than just, really no reason. I don't know what the reason would be to bet on San Diego State. It would be San Jose State or pass for sure. Leaning to the over, but don't like the line move. And this is a tough one. So as of right now, it's going to be a pass for me.
Yeah, sure, Pete. I agree with you. SJSU after that tough start, but they've been a wagon ever since. We got Don here asking about the UTEP game. I'll tell you this, Pete. I'm on the under there in the UTEP game. 3-7 teams going at it. And I talked about it earlier, guys. Middle Tennessee State came off of a bye, Donald, 3 weeks ago. And ever since then, their defense has turned it on. They only given up 19 points in their last two games. And UTEP, they'll just run the ball, run that clock. I don't think it gets into the 50s. I bet the under in that game, Pete.
No, it's weird that you say that. I've already made that bet. I already bet the under. I completely agree with you. Don't really know what to make of the side, but I have definitely bet the under already in that one for sure.
Pete Loshak in the house here, guys. That is every game on the board. We just talked it. Pete, do you have a best bet for the people? One of these games you like more? Anything on the Saturday card, Friday, Thursday you want to throw out there?
I don't know. I do like Wisconsin. I do like Texas Tech. Let me see. Pick one. All right, it'll either be Wisconsin or I do like that Notre Dame under, but who knows what the hell's going to happen there. Texas Tech is a little bit unreliable there. I really like Wisconsin, but I'll make it Texas Tech. I'll make it Texas Tech at 3. I think you can even get 2.5. You got to. If I have to give one best bet on the card, I'll make that one. Texas Tech -3 or -2.5.
Texas
close
Tech.
Second is Wisconsin.
Okay. Hey, a little bonus pick there on Wisconsin, but for record-keeping purposes here, guys, we're going Texas Tech. And we can give you -2.5 available at BetOnline, betonline.ag. The game starts here. Pete, Great breakdowns, man. That was a lot of fun. Always good to see you, buddy. It's been too long.
Hell yeah.
You want to throw out anything else? Any final thoughts here before you shut it down?
No.
All good. All right, guys, that does it for the Week 12 college football card. Thanks for tuning in. Huge shout out to our closer, Pete Loshak. I am Drew Martin. Wherever you're downloading your podcast at, guys, every game on the board. We'll be back for Rivalry Weekend next week, starting early. Come back and join us. Cash those tickets. Until then, thanks for tuning in.